Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 306 for April the 8th, 2025, and we've got a busy week coming up here, and we'll talk about those various things a little later on. But first, let's take a look at the Giraffe quilt, which you can see peeking over my get this right. This over here, over on this shoulder, yeah, in that area. But let's take a little closer look at it, shall we? Okay, so I got this on to Lucy yesterday, and after some trials and tribulations, always seems to be, and not really Lucy's fault, nor was it really my fault for the most part, but anyways, we got it on Lucy, and I got it quilted, and today I'm going to put the binding on it, and then I'm going to throw it in the washing machine to make it nice and soft, and it'll be ready to ship out with the bibs that I made to my great niece Clara. But let's talk about what I did here, okay? Because this does deviate a little bit from the pattern in several ways. First of all, if you look down at the bottom quarter or eighth of the quilt where the green is, there was supposed to be a little bit of blue in there. The idea of the green is that this is a stylized tops of trees. You know, giraffes are tall, and we often see pictures of giraffes hanging out amongst the trees eating the leaves and things like that. At least that's the intent I think that Tracy Perks, who designed this quilt, had in mind. And so some of the little squares that are down there in green, some of them are half square triangles, and you can see those peeking around the little lighter green that's there. Those were actually supposed to be blue, but they're not. Why is that? Well, you had to cut 401 blue 2.5-inch squares for this project. I thought I had cut enough. In fact, I cut all of the blue fabric that I had. When I got down to those rows, I discovered I didn't have enough, and there was no way I could cut more because, as I said, I used up all the blue fabric that's in this quilt, and I didn't have any other blues that even came close to matching. Blue is a really difficult color to match with other blues, I can tell you that. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I'm down to the last 5 rows kind of a thing, and I don't have any of the blue. I contemplated trying, as I said already, a different shade of blue, one that might have been close, but I thought, no, that would stand out like a sore thumb. So I thought, well, this is supposed to be the tops of trees in a forest, so why not just a different color of green to replace where the blue would have gone? And that's what I've done. So I think it works fine. I don't think anybody would know the difference unless they actually had a picture of the pattern in front of them to compare it to, and the chances of that are pretty slim. So I'm okay with that. All right, next problem that I had, or next challenge that I had, it wasn't really a problem, was figuring out what quilting pattern I wanted to use. Now, my first idea, because of the trees in this, that maybe something, an open leaf pattern would be nice, because I mean giraffes eat leaves, so it would be fitting. Or something that was child themed, like maybe some other animals or something like that in the background. But the problem is I didn't want to have too dense of quilting, and also I didn't want to have a quilting design that would take away from the central character of this quilt, which is, of course, the giraffe. So I looked online and I found several different suggestions, and so I brought my consultant in, i.e. Walter, and had him take a look. He pretty much rejected all of my choices, which he usually does. But we looked for some more, and we came up with the idea of maybe bubbles would work, these bubbles. And you know something? I think they do. I think they give the quilt texture, but they do not take away from the central character, which is what I want to go for. So yes, it was Walter's idea to use bubbles, and we found together this design that works out really well, I think. Okay, so got the design, everything else. I need backing. Well, of course, in my stash of fabrics, and isn't this always the way? No matter how much fabric you've got stashed, you can never find the perfect piece. And in my backings, I had one that was sort of blues and there were some greens in it. But it just, the vibe from it didn't suggest, something for a kid. And of course, I have heard of cuddle, which is basically minky, but just a different name for it. And I thought, well, I looked up wide backings, wide back backing, because I didn't want to piece the backing. Although I thought about a flannel backing, I have some flannel here that I could have probably pieced together. I have squares of flannel. Um, but then I thought, no, I'm going to have so many intersecting points, so much bulk in the seams that it's just going to make for a lumpy quilt. So I rejected that idea. I went online, I looked at all my local quilt stores for appropriate backing. Nope, none that I could find that grabbed me. Then I came across Ultimate Sewing had just gotten in something called Cuddle Text or something like that. It's Cuddle. And I did see a shade of blue that I liked, that I thought, hey, that would go. Now, I mean, the backing doesn't have to be the exact color of the front as the front, but this one I thought would work. So down to Ultimate Sewing we went, and I bought 3 meters of it. Now the cuddle is 70 inches wide. And it wasn't a bad price. I think they were only charging $18 a meter, which is good as well. So I bought 3 meters of it. Now, I did speak to Emily, the manager at the store, and said, I've never used cuddle before. Do you have anything you want to tell me about it, or you know anything about it? She took me over to a quilt that was on display that had used cuddle on the back, and it is very nice and soft. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to be putting this on my long arm. Am I going to have any problems with it? She says, well, no. Ellie, which is another one of the ladies at Ultimate Sewing, she has used it many times because she does long arming for people, and no problems. So I thought, okay, then let's go for it. Now, this particular cuddle does not have a high nape to it. It's very, very short. And I didn't want anything that was real like fuzzy or hairy, but I just wanted something that would be soft. So I got that and I came home and I was still a little bit apprehensive about using it, never having done cuddle before, as I said. So I went online and I went to YouTube and I started researching. Now, I found a lot of videos about people using cuddle in their domestic machine, but not as many with it on long arms. But I did come across a couple of them, and one of the YouTube videos, the person in that talked fairly extensively about using cuddle on a long arm. But the bottom line was, treat it like you would treat any backing. So I thought, okay. I wondered if I'd have to pre-wash it, but apparently the same video said not really, because it's polyester, so it's not really going to shrink. So, and this person also said, and takes after my own heart, she never pre-washes any of her fabrics when she's making a quilt, and she's had no problems. So I thought, okay, I guess I'm well prepared. But just to be on the safe side, when I mounted the cuddle and everything onto my long arm, I had enough cuddle that I was able to have a fairly wide allowance outside of the quilting area. So I took some of the fabric that I had, the greens and the browns, and I put pieces of them off to the side on top of the quilt sandwich just to see what this pattern was going to look like and to check tension. Because I got thinking, this is a stretchy fabric, and although it's going to be basted down in the whole bit, I'm just wondering if it's going to affect the tension. Oh yeah, it did. So there I am. And I'm pulling up. I was using well, first of all, I had to call in my consultant again for what color I should quilt this with. I didn't want the quilting, as you know, to take away from the central image. So I'm looking through. I had about 10 different colors laid out, auditioning them on the quilt. And I really couldn't decide. And again, I have a lot of quilting thread. Glide is what I use. I have 50, 60 spools of it in various colors. Do you think I could find the most ideal color? In my mind, I'm thinking either a bit of a gray or a beige, a light beige, something that'll melt into the quilt. Well, nothing I had was doing it for me, but Walter came down with his eagle eye down into the Lucy room, and he goes over to my shelf of threads. He picks out two, just like that, puts them down, and I went, oh yeah, either one of these is going to work. So I picked the one that was kind of a gray, a light gray, but it had a bit of a tinge of brown in it. So that was the top thread. Now the bobbin thread, I had some blue bobbins that were close to the color of the cuddle, and I thought I'll use those. So when I was practicing, and thank goodness that I did this, testing it out, my bobbin thread was coming up to the top. So I know I've got a tension problem, and that means that I should loosen off the tension on the top thread, because you want, where the two threads meet, you want them in the middle of your sandwich. Well, we'd fiddled and farted around with the tension dial, and we could not get it right. So then Walter came up with the idea and said, okay, let's change the bobbin thread for now in our test to a white so we can see it against the color of the top thread. And we did that. Well, yeah, that was a little easier to see, but I still wasn't solving the tension problem. So we decided to get a piece of plain black fabric, put it off to the side, and test on that. And that helped a great deal. We could then see, oh yeah, this is pulling it up here. So we fooled around with the tension a little bit more. We never did get the tension perfect. However, we disguised the problem. We picked, instead of using a blue to match the backing, and since your stitches kind of sink in to the cuddle, so you really don't see the color of the stitching, because the nape of the cuddle kind of hides it. It's more of an impression of the design. It looks kind of embossed. So we picked a really light colored bobbin thread, and so if it got pulled up to the surface, it would not be noticeable. And that's what I did, and that worked. But what did I learn from this experience? I will never work with cuddle again. I don't care if it is soft. I don't like this fooling around with your tension kind of thing. Now, I'll have to remember when I put my next quilt onto Lucy, that's going to be done in my usual backing fabrics. I'm going to have to play with the tension again to get that back right. But anyways, I went my merrily along my way. Things were working out quite nicely. And then, after I got the first couple of rows in, I noticed something. Oh no. The machine thinks the quilt is finished, and it's only done a quarter of the quilt. Now, this was not Lucy's fault. This was my fault. When I was playing around with the safe area that you set, I set it as the total length of the quilt for the 3 pieces of fabric, which was about 17, 18 inches long. I didn't change that when I readjusted the settings for the entire quilt. So Lucy thought the quilt was only about 18 inches long, whereas it was like 70 inches long that I should have had in there. So I finished it. And I went, crap. So I don't know, there might be a way, and I know there is a way that I could have got around this problem. But what I did was I rolled the quilt up, I adjusted the placement, I put in the proper length of the quilt, or what was left of the quilt, and started the pattern over. Now, you really can't see it unless I point it out to you, but if you look in the top third of the quilt, you will see a very faint, looks like there might be a bit of a line there. Yeah, only people like Walter would find that. I'm not telling anybody else, you know, but you're sworn to secrecy. And I will, you let it out of the bag and I will find you and strike. Yeah, no, yeah. But, anyways, it's not going to quilters. And even a quilter, I am sure, coming in and seeing this, oh, isn't that nice, kind of thing, is not going to sit there with a magnifying glass and scrutinize it. You can see it on the back, on the cuddle, a little bit, but again, you don't usually see the back at the same time as you see the front, right? So I'm not gonna fret over it. I mean, there was no way I could have fixed it. I mean, can you imagine trying to pull out stitches with cuddle? Oh my God. No, not happening. So, my first experience using cuddle, and I think it will be my last. Um, the hell with softness. Yeah, you know, I'm gonna sacrifice softness for my sanity with it. So, anyways, today I'm going to cut binding. Now, I want to do the binding in blue. Now, some people have suggested that, oh, am I going to put a border on this? Well, the pattern didn't call for one. And my reaction was, yes, I probably will put a border to it because I put a border on all my quilts because I kind of think it makes a quilt look finished. But I'm not going to do it this time because I think it would take away from the aesthetic of this quilt if I put a border on it. It would look like your picture framed it. So I think just the binding itself is enough for this. And that's probably why Tracy in her design of this pattern didn't put a border on it as well. So let's go with what I think the designer had in mind. I do have a blue fabric that I'm going to use for this. And I told you I don't have any more of that particular blue, and I don't even know when I got it, where I got it, or who the manufacturer of it is. But Walter went up into his stash and he found a blue fabric that I think will work. So that's what I'm going to use today with it. And so probably on So Chatty later this week, you'll get to see the finished product. And of course, I'll be showing it multiple times on my videos as I do, but talking about it in more detail again on next week's version of or episode of the Idiot Quilter. Okay, that was a long story about this. My quilts all have stories. And you know, it just wouldn't be one of my creations if there wasn't something that was, well, let's not call it a mistake. Let's call it a customization, shall we? Okay, so moving on. Announcements. Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen as usual on Wednesday. 9 a.m. start. All are welcome. Links in the show notes. But this is going to be a real sewing week here because on Saturday, and that's April the 12th, so this coming Saturday at the time of recording this, Pop-Up Sew Day. Yes, it seems like we just had one 2 weeks ago. We did. Now we're having another one. Yay. Hope many of you can join me for that. I know that in some places in the world, in North America, we are moving more into the nice spring weather, I hope. Although looking out my window right now, I think it's snowing. Yeah, and it's -8. Winter's not over for us Canadians yet. But anyway, so, you know, if the weather's miserable outside on Saturday, I love sewing on a miserable day. I'm not tempted to go anywhere. So I get a lot done. So that's this Saturday. I have put the link for it in the show notes below, and it's in the show notes for yesterday's vlog, and will be in the show notes for this week's So Chatty. And those of you on the mailing list, you already got it in your email box as well. So I hope a lot of you can join us. The more the merrier. And if you've never been to a pop-up sew day, hey, what's holding you back? If you're free, come join us. You don't have to stay for the whole day. As I said, I open up the virtual doors. It is a Zoom. It's not a YouTube live at 8 a.m. in the morning, my time, Eastern time, and we finish up around 5. Walter will not be joining us. He's going off to his own in-person sew day on Saturday. And then on Sunday, just when you thought it was safe to go back into the water, Russ of Quilt Meets World is having a sewing shenanigans session on Sunday. Yeah, so tune into his vlog this week on Wednesdays. He always puts his vlogs up on Wednesdays, and he will give you all the details about that event as well. So yeah, if you can't make one, but you can make the other, that's great. If you can make both of them, even better. So you can have a whole weekend of getting caught up on whatever you need to get caught up on. Okay, and there's more. Retreat. Yes, we're getting close to the registration day for the retreat. The retreat is Saturday, and this is the Idiot Quilter Virtual Retreat, the one I throw twice a year. This is the spring one, of course, and it is on Saturday, April the 26th. All the details are in a video that went up yesterday, and so you'll find it there. It will tell you everything about how you register, what to expect, about prizes and giveaways, about the guest speakers that we're having, and the whole day and everything like that. Everything is there in that video. And if you can't remember it all as you watch the video runs about 12 minutes. In the show notes for that video, you will find everything that I have said. But those of you on my mailing list have also got a copy of all that information too. Yes, I am sorry, but those of you on my mailing list, I don't send out things very often, but this week you're going to be inundated with emails from me. You're getting at least 3 this week. 2 about the pop-up sew day, 1 about the retreat. Now, the retreat is free. Absolutely free. However, you do have to register, and I talk about that in the video. And registration officially opens at 9 a.m. my time, Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, on Monday, April the 14th. How do you register? Well, easy. You send me an email with your first and last name, real names please, no aliases, and the email address you wish to be contacted at, if it's different from the one you sent the email to me from. That is for the sake of updates. I will be sending out an agenda for the day as well, closer to the day of, and all that and the links, of course. So basically, in a nutshell, this is all explained in the video, but after you register, then I will send you a confirmation so you'll know that you are registered. And then about a few days before the actual retreat and the icebreaker party, which is on the Friday night before, you will get the links for all of that and agenda and the whole bit. Okay. There's going to be some other surprises that I have not talked to you about or told you about in the video as well. So stay tuned. It is always a great day, and it's a very, very busy day for me, and that is just okay by me. I wouldn't do this kind of thing if I didn't enjoy doing it. So yeah. Okay, I think that's all I need to tell you at this moment in time about the retreat. Oh, that video, by the way, is linked down in the show notes too for you. Okay, so let's talk about something else that happened this week. It was a real complete, utter surprise. It came out of nowhere. One of my subscribers who had done one of my very first quilt pattern, which was When Stars Collide, which is still available to anybody that wants it free of charge. Look in the show notes. You will find a link to my Google Drive and you can download it. She sent me a mini version of my quilt pattern, and it's absolutely beautiful. This person is Kathy Weidman. She's a regular subscriber here, and I was blown away by the size of the squares. This lady has a lot of patience. And to see my quilt in that format gives me great joy, and it is now hanging here in my sewing room where I can see it every day. I just looked over at it now. It's beautiful. But here, I made a little special video about this for you to see the whole thing. This week I got a really special gift that really made my day, and it's this mini quilt, and it's based on my pattern, Colliding Stars. And this came from one of my longtime subscribers, Kathy Weidman. And Kathy writes, Dear Stephen, even though I made this with FPP, I still couldn't get everything to line up accurately. Arg. Well, I don't know, but I think you did a very, very good job, because I know the picture doesn't show it, but those are very, very tiny pieces. But I hope you enjoy receiving it as a gesture of appreciation and delight for all that you share online, Kathy. Well, Kathy, I'm just speechless. This is absolutely beautiful, and there is nothing better for someone who writes a pattern to see someone else do a wonderful job of taking that pattern and making it into a beautiful creation as you have here. I love your colors that you've put into it. I love everything. I especially like the way up here in the corner pieces next to the stars, you added a different color. I think that's fantastic. It really frames the whole quilt very nicely, and it's a unique touch which makes this quilt unique to your creative talents. So Kathy, you made my day when this came through. I'm hanging it in my sewing room in a place where I will see it every day and enjoy it. And just thank you so much. I don't know what else to say except thank you from the bottom of my heart. So once again, thank you, Kathy, so much for that. You really made my day. Absolutely loved it. Wonderful work. Okay, moving on. So Chatty last week, we're going to talk about the features we have missed on our machines because we don't read our manuals, but we decided that that was too machine specific. So instead, we talked about different scams that are, well, they've always been there, but lately, because of Joann's going out of business, some very dishonorable people have decided to feed on us or try to trick us into getting deep discounted prices on sewing machines and other things because of, as if they were Joann's online. But there's a whole bunch of these. So we talked about those, and we moved into AI as well, and talked about how AI can actually write patterns. And one of my challenges to myself down the road for So Chatty is going to be to have AI design me a quilt, and taking those instructions that the AI has given, see what happens if I try to actually make the quilt. That's down the road as an idea for So Chatty. I'm working on some other things as well. I still need your suggestions for what things you'd like to see on So Chatty. So this week, though, we're going to do a deep cleaning of Walter's sewing machine. He has a Gnome 6700P. It was actually my first major sewing machine when I first got into quilting about 7 years ago. It has never been deep cleaned. I mean, it's had, you know, the usual cleaning you do with the bobbin case and that kind of thing. But, you know, that machine is used a lot. So I'm expecting when we open it up, we're going to hear the gnashing and growling of teeth from the dust bunnies in there that are desperate to get out. So we're going to do that. We're going to pre-record that sometime this week and present it to you on So Chatty on Friday. That's the plan. I just have to get time scheduled with Walter to do this. Yeah. So that's the plan. I also am working on something else, which you can see a little sneak peek at it. If you see that block next to the giraffe behind me, that is sort of paper piecing, but sort of not. Yeah, it kind of involves the embroidery machine. I'm working on a plan here. So in another week or two, I'm hoping that I'll be able to share what I have in mind with this. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that, so stay tuned. All right. I did buy something else when I was at Ultimate Sewing getting the cuddle. I bought some canvas fabric that they just got in for bag making. And so I bought these two colors, bought 2 meters of each. I think it was about $18 a meter as well. I mean, you can't beat Ultimate Sewing's prices. You really can't. Um, when I go to other quilt stores in the area, they're always more expensive, and really I compare them always to Ultimate Sewing. But anyways, I bought these two colors for future bag making. You'll also see in the round tube looking thing, that's cork. I've never worked with cork before. So I'm thinking that the next bag I make, I'm going to use some of this canvas-like fabric and the cork, and maybe some other bag fabric that I have in my stash, and see what I can come up with. Now, I do intend to embroider on the bag as well, and I'm embroider on this material, so that's going to be an experiment too, to see, how well this kind of fabric works when you embroider on it. In the little packages on there are just some more magnetic closures. I really like using the magnetic closures. They're really easy to install, and because you can install them in such a way that they are almost hidden by your fabric, I think they're kind of cool. I don't know if they would go on the bag that I'm going to make or what I'm thinking of making, but this may also become another So Chatty series as well. I may even incorporate some faux leather. I got to order some more of that though, into this design. I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'll let you know. I'm wondering what it would be like to quilt on this as well. If I did that though, I don't think I'd put it on the long arm. I think I'd do it on my embroidery machine, depending on the design that I use. I don't know. These things are all up here. They haven't been solidified in my brain and committed to paper. My plan. And while I was there, I just stocked up on some more O Canada fabric because, that's another project I haven't got to. I have a pattern that I want to do for another Quilt of Valor, and I just stocked up on these while I was in the store. I am noticing lately getting the O Canada line of fabrics is becoming more and more difficult, and I don't know if they've come out. I should check Northcott's site to see if they're going to come out with another variation on all of this. They usually come out with a different collection or variations every year, and I don't know if they've done that this year. Maybe they're done with it. Makes this even more rare, these fabrics. They ought to come out with a new one now, because given the situation we're in, thanks to you-know-who in the States, this fabric certainly works with a patriotic theme. Yeah, which is another project I got to work on. I need to create something for my Canada Day decor, or Canada Day month, which is July. At least some table runner or something. I don't know. I have to look for some designs. Oh, always so many things to find and to explore in so little time, right? Okay, so that was all that I bought this last week. So that takes me to Subscribers Quilt of the Week, and this comes from a regular subscriber and friend who is a fellow Canadian, lives in the Ottawa area, and that's Lydia Yates. And Lydia does beautiful work, and she loves to experiment as well. So here's what Lydia sent me to share with you. This week's quilt from a subscriber and a friend comes from Lydia Yates, and Lydia writes this about her beautiful creation. I couldn't just pick one, so here's a collage. If you really just want one, let me know. The pattern is a borderless version of Flying Home by Lisa Jo I'm not sure how to say this last name. Girotat? Girodat? Anyways, for Moda. The pattern is free. Free motion and ruler work quilting on an Innova Classic. Really happy with the way it turned out, and you most certainly should be. Your quilting is absolutely gorgeous. And Lydia does not use a computer to do her quilting. She does it herself. She is an excellent free motion quilter. And the patterns, the colors, everything about this quilt just screams elegance, I think. Lydia's always loves to push the envelope when it comes to working with quilting. She does absolutely beautiful work and very modern type of work, but she mixes the modern with the traditional, as you can see here as well. I think this is an absolutely stunning quilt, and I love the idea of you putting it all together as a picture collage as well. Yes, I asked for only one picture, but you found the loophole. But thank you, Lydia. Thank you for sharing your most beautiful quilt with us all. And I still have a few pictures that people have shown me of their beautiful creations to share with you. That'll take me to probably the end of April, but after that, I'm a little light. So if you've got something, it doesn't have to be a quilt, it can be anything that you've created. I'll even go into the paper crafting world as well for this. Whatever you've got that you want to share with other people, one picture, unless you're clever like Lydia and do a collage, because that's really technically one picture, just broken into pieces. You know, Lydia's brain, she's always thinking, yeah. I would be happy to share with everybody here one of your beautiful creations as well. So you can just send it to me with a little blurb, no more than 50 words, please, but do say something about it. Otherwise, I make it up. And I might not be correct. So yeah, send it along as an attachment to an email. And my email address is in the show notes. Okay, YouTube channel of the week. Well, I've already alluded to this because on So Chatty, we talked about this. But this is the video that really got me thinking about scams in the sewing world, in the quilting world. And this video clip is called Beware of Sewing Scams, and here's my review of that. This week's YouTube video of the week is called Beware of Sewing Scams. And yes, we're all quite aware of scams that happen in our email, happen on our phones, happen everywhere, it seems these days. And we may have thought we were safe in the sewing and quilting category, but we are not, as this video points out. Right now, Joann's has gone into receivership or bankruptcy, and so they are advertising as they liquidate their inventories from all of their stores that they have sale prices. However, there are scammers, as this video will explain, that have taken advantage of that, and some people are getting caught up. And the bottom line here is, if you see a sewing machine that's on for like 80% off, you should be wary of this. It probably is a scam because the markup on sewing machines is not that great according to this particular content creator. So if you don't want to get caught up in sewing machine scams, pattern buying scams, there's several here as well. And she even touches on how AI is involved in all of this too. Then you're going to want to check out this particular video clip called Beware of Sewing Scams. Okay, so that takes me to future projects, and although we're a bit of a ways from Halloween, this is a project that I want to work on very soon because, you know, time flies. And this is in part of the Gnome series of wall hangings that I have been working on. I'm trying to get one for each of the special seasonal events that happen throughout the year. And so this is the Halloween Gnome hanger. And here's all about that. This week's future project is the Halloween Gnome Hanger by Sweet Pea Designs, and the link for this is in the show notes below if you're interested in getting one. Yes, we're a ways away from Halloween right now, but can you ever be too prepared? And when I saw this one, I fell in love with it. I thought it was really, really cute. And I love the colors that they're showing in this particular one, and I think I may stick very much to those colors or close thereof, because I really do like them. It comes in various sizes, 3 different sizes, and right now it's $18.89 Canadian, which is kind of on the pricey side. However, since we're way out from Halloween at the moment, often when we get closer to Halloween projects will go on sale. So you might want to watch for it in the future. I did mention this one last week when I showed you the one that I did down here, the Easter Gnome, but I couldn't resist and I did pay full price for the two of them. But I love Sweet Pea's designs. After I had a little discussion with them about some of the minor errors I found in some of their patterns. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a couple of episodes ago. You might want to look that up. But nevertheless, they usually turn out very, very nice. And lately, they've been putting in videos on how to do all of these as well. So that is, and I don't know if there's one for this one. I don't see that. They do have this quickie little video that they're showing here, but nevertheless, they're not difficult to do. So if you want to get ready for Halloween in advance, this might be a project for you. Either way, it's going to be fun to make. So besides the giraffe quilt, which has basically been taking up most of my time this week, I have been working on some other projects as well. And so here's what I've been working on. So this week I did get a few things accomplished. I finished the top for my great niece's quilt, the Giraffe by Tracy Perks, as you can see here. And we went out yesterday, and I'll show you that in a minute, and to Ultimate Sewing. And I was looking for backing for this. Not easy to find, because I had kind of in my mind I wanted something that was kid-like, but finding wide back, no chance of that. At least here in my area. So I did find something else, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Here I have the pieces together for the fortune teller. This is the 3D print by Fluval, or however you say his name, F-U-L-V, that you've heard me talk about before. I made the Haunted Mansion, I made the Christmas house, I made the theater, and now this is the fortune teller, and you'll see that when it's completely done. Actually, at the time of filming this, it is Sunday morning. This may be done and put up on my vlog on Monday. So that means you've already seen it if you saw my vlog. We'll see how that goes. And speaking of 3D printing, the printers are quiet right now, as you can see. But that won't stay that way for long. I don't know what I'm going to make next, but I do want to show you some what they call practical prints. This drawer was a disorganized mess. I cleaned it all out, and I made these baskets. And they hold miscellaneous little goodies that are in here, and I did that for this drawer as well. So yeah, rented lips. 3D printers are definitely for, not just for making little toys and trinkets like this. You can do practical prints. And here, back here is my filament collection. But I've just put in another huge order for filament. I've been trying to get rid of all my old scraps, as you can see here, like Amazon Basic and these ones that I've had literally for several years. And they are starting to get brittle because filament will do that. It'll absorb moisture from the air. And when it does that, then there's a process for drying it out, but it's just never the same. And I'm really loving the Bamboo Labs filament, which you can see on the wall. That's mostly that, and of course here in the AMS. And I just ordered a whole pile more of it, and that's going to be my filament of choice from now on because it's also very reasonably priced. So let's move into the Lucy room. Say hi to Lucy. So here she is. Lucy's going to get a cleaning today in preparation for the giraffe quilt that I'd like to get started on tomorrow. And here you can see this is what I bought for the backing. This is Cuddle, and I have never worked with Cuddle before. I'm not even sure if there's a right side or a wrong side. Yeah, there is. Okay, I got to figure out which side's supposed to go out. I have a feeling this part, the fluffy part, goes inside, but I don't know. I've got to look up some videos today to figure that out. These fabrics here are actually a type of canvas, and that's for future bag making. I bought some of that yesterday, and I did show that earlier to you as well. Yes, the poop is piling up. 3D printer poop right here. And I did finish up this week the bibs that I'm making from my great niece, and I put in snaps. Thank you to all of you who recommended not using the Velcro. You said snaps were better for a variety of reasons, and I took your advice and have done that. This is the little mystery box, because if you saw Stephen and Walter live this week, you know that we did a draw for this. This has a variety of 3D printed things. We're having that draw every month on the first Stephen and Walter live of the month. And yeah, that's the bag corner. They're piling up as well. So yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. And yeah, we'll see what I can get into. That was last week, actually. Let's see what I can get into this week. Okay, so that brings us to near the end of today's episode. But of course, before we go, I want to do what I do every week, and that's my review of an online quilting store. And this particular one is called the Quilting Barn. This week's online quilt store, it comes from a place called Erlton, and it's called the Quilting Barn. And yep, there's a picture of the outside of it. It looks like a barn. So here's their front page, and they tell you about their store and that they ship within Canada and free shipping on orders over $200. And they tell you some more things about shipping, which probably if you order from them, you should read. Then they have some of their products shown here. Prices seem to vary, but they don't seem to be too bad just from that initial look. So Erlton, that's the name of the place. It's Erlton. So let's jump right into do some shopping. Let's look at Shop All, how this is set up. Okay, so they have along here top line, they have an index. And again, they're showing some of their fabrics. So let's go to fabric. Okay, these are panels. And intermixed with the panels is some of their fabric. So let's see. They're saying, is there another way to look at this, or do we have to browse through all of these seemingly random pictures, which doesn't impress me because I'm not a browser. If you're a browser, you might want to check this out. There are 10 pages of fabrics. Okay, I just want to check here to see if there is a better way to organize this. Let's go back up here to shop. And, well, they do have a category for boutique fabrics and fabric panels. Wide back, flannel, Christmas, fleece, batting. Okay, children and baby. So you really do have to do a bit of hunting here. So let's just take a look at one of these. Now they're saying it's $13.95, and that's, I'm assuming, a meter. They do not tell us that's a meter or in yards. I don't know. I'd like to know. I would assume it's in meters, but you can't always assume that. So $13.95 though, that's a pretty good price. Oh, that's a flannel. Okay, didn't realize that. Let's go back here. Really not impressed, as I said, with the way this is laid out. Okay, they've got Northcott. That's the Toscana. That's a blender. $13.95. That's a good price. Can't complain about the price on that. Let's go back. Let's just scan through here prices. $12.95, $10.95, $15.95, $18.95. Wide backs look around $29.95, which is, that's okay price. $14.95. So it looks like their prices on fabric run from as low as $13.95 up to $18.95 a meter, depending on what you buy. A wide back seam to go from $29.95 to $32.95, which again is in the ballpark. Yeah, Okay, I find this very difficult to find what I want because I'm not a browser. Excuse me. Um, okay, I'm still want to know though, is this by yards or by meters? Let's go down here. About us, shop. Just takes me back here, and I don't see anything readily up on the screen that tells me this is yards or meters. So I don't like that. I want to know, are we getting meters or yards? Okay, let's check their batik fabric out, see what they're charging for that. Batiks are a little bit more, but still reasonably priced given what today most places are charging for that. But not much of a selection. What do they have? Nine different ones. So yeah, not a great selection in batiks. Okay, let's is there anything else in fabric? Oh, I don't like this setup. Okay. Other fabrics. Well, they don't have any other fabrics. Okay. Okay, this one needs not to be here. You've heard me say this about website design before. If you're not going to populate it with products, do not have it listed. It just suggests that, or at least put in something saying coming soon. So, foreshadowing that something's here, but sorry, we couldn't find any products here. So why bother? All right, let's, okay, pre-cuts. Yeah, okay, let's check. Again, here's another one that's empty. All right. So don't tease me with this listed in your directory and you don't have anything there. Okay, I don't like that either. Let's go back to wide backing. What did they have for selection? Okay, so prices as low as $29.95, yarder or meter, I still don't know, and up to $32.95. Okay. Yeah, their selection is really not thrilling me at all in that. It's kind of limited. But you do find that, to be fair, you do find that on some online stores. That wide back is something that's a little bit more scarce. All right. We've seen flannel. Okay, let's check on what's on sale. So about half price, 50% off on most of the things that seem to be listed here. Why is that on sale? That's a wide back. It says it's $31.95. That's not a sale price. That's their regular price. So that's not impressing me. I think that one got put in the wrong section or someone forgot to mark it down. Yeah. Well, I can understand why these things are on sale. They don't suit my taste, but they might suit yours. Okay, furthermore, let us see. Christmas gift cards, giftware, children, baby, fleece, batting. Let's check. Oops. Let's go and check out batting and see how. Okay. Here we go. And there we go again. Okay, so is there anything else before I make my final assessment here that we can take a look at? Well, what the hell? Let's take a look at giftware. Nothing. Okay, so how many of these things are really empty? Nothing under kits. Sewing machine. Nothing. Books. Nothing. Christmas. Well, they do have some Christmas. Yeah, not much to choose from there though either. Anything else? Children, baby. Yeah, okay. Not a lot there to choose from either. All right, terms and conditions. Shipping. All right, shipping charges have been set at $17 flat rate for shipping in Canada. However, we will charge the actual amount of postage that we must pay to get the order to you by Canada Post, maybe less, maybe more. Okay, that's kind of indefinite right there. Oh, here we go. Fabric is sold by by the meter. Okay, so we finally have that. I would have liked to seen that though at the top of the fabric page. Um, and yeah, the usual kind of stuff here. A lot of blah blah. Okay, so we solved that mystery, didn't we? And services. What's under services? Services. Or they do service Singer and Husqvarna Viking sewing machine. If you purchase a machine from them, I guess you have to go into their physical store to look at their machines because they're not showing them under sewing machines on their website. And they do quilting. All right. But they don't explain this section. I'm assuming this means because of the picture and what they're saying here is that they will quilt your quilt. All right, but why couldn't we have put that here? What we have is just services, and then we drop down here to servicing these types of sewing machines, and they say nothing here that they do their quilting. The design of this website is not good. Obviously, it's been done by someone who's not totally into web design with it. Okay, so yeah, my overall rating, I'm not terribly impressed by what they have to offer. I'm really not impressed by the fact I had a hunt to find out whether or not this fabric was coming in meters or yards. I'm not impressed by, as I said, the selection and the way it's laid out. Price-wise, it isn't bad. Maybe it's better if you actually went to the store itself. But as far as the website's concerned, I don't know if I want to make the trip to Earlton. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to give this one a 5 out of 10 on my rating. So maybe there's something here for you though, or if you're in that area and you're close to the actual store, it might be worth dropping in. That's the Quilting Barn. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode of the Idiot Quilter, and just some reminders. Retreat video is up, all about everything you needed to know about the retreat that happens on April the 26th, but registration opens on April the 14th. So please do check out that video because it will really answer all of your questions, I'm sure. But if you have some that aren't answered, feel free to send me an email. No problem. And of course, Pop-Up Sew Day this Saturday. So links in the show notes for that as well. Hope many of you can come to that because it's always a good time. Okay, I hope the rest of your week is a good one. I hope wherever you're living, you're getting some nice weather for a change because we have had some bad weather right across North America in the last couple of weeks. So it would be nice to get some real spring-like weather out there. Yeah, so have a great week. We'll see you later. Bye for now.